Hello, my name is Luna, and you're listening to Infinite Souls, a podcast for that real talk about consciousness, spirituality, and realizing our infinite potential. Mucho, mucho love and light. Hello, hello, Infinite Souls. Welcome to another podcast. I have another lovely guest today. Her name is Hannah Holladay. Can you say hi to everybody?
What's up? Hi, everybody.
Yes, you guys. Hannah is an amazing sound healing practitioner, and she also does meditations. So Hannah Holladay facilitates energy and sound healings and meditations, and she focuses on helping people reprogram their subconscious mind. She helps them create new life patterns in their lives and practices quantum healing. She does this all to help people shift out of their old cycles and stories. And she works with people both individually, virtually, in groups, and she embodies all of these good stuff and shares it with the whole entire world. I met her on TikTok, and I hope that you guys get to know her a little bit more. Hi, Hannah. How you doing today?
Hi, Luna. Thank you so much. I'm so
Yeah.
excited to connect with you and your energy. I love you so much. So I'm very honored to be on your podcast. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
Thank you for being here, Hannah. I love you too. You're honestly such an amazing being, and I can't wait for people to get to know a little bit more about you if they haven't already heard about you. So, before we do get into the show, as usual, let's do the icebreaker question. All right, get ready for it. Here it goes. What are you grateful for?
Ooh, what am I grateful for? I am grateful for my health. We're going to go with that today. I'm grateful for my health. Because
Yeah.
sometimes, in this, especially for myself as someone who's so in my mind and like so spiritual, sometimes I feel a little bit disconnected from my body. So today I've been really focusing on just being in my body, feeling my body, and just so grateful to be connected to the earth. So today I'm grateful for this body.
Yes, I love that. As you were saying that, I just got chills. Because it's like it's so true for so many of us who are empaths or who are on a spiritual type of journey, or who have been for a while, to be in our head a lot or up in the higher chakras, right? You're in your crown and you're, talking to source and guides and all that stuff. And we forget to ground and be in our bodies. And I think that it's very important for us to do that right
Oh,
now, especially. I feel like all of us are being called to connect back into our bodies.
yep.
I know that you did some fasting just recently, right?
Yes.
How was that?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm on that kick right now. I've played around with intermittent fasting quite a bit over the last several years. My body really responds well to that. And my body definitely called me to go on like a full cleanse. So I was eating for probably almost a week only fruit. Then I started to incorporate some vegetables. I was going only fruit, only vegetables. And that was for about 2 weeks. And now I'm incorporating some other things. But it's just time. I think, especially if you're in kind of the spiritual realm and you channel a lot of energies. I know you do Reiki healing. You want that body to be pure so you can be a clear channel, right? So,
Mm.
and just with how we're moving through what we're moving through collectively, I think the foundational piece for so many of us, like you said, it's so easy to get stuck in the mind and feel disconnected from your body. And I think for what we're all collectively moving through right now, whether you're spiritual or not, the more that we can be really in tune with what our body is saying and asking of us day in and day out, we can kind of weather the storm and weather the collective changes a little bit more because we can bring our nervous systems back into balance in that way. But it's a
Mhm.
practice, not always the easiest
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me about it. I have been also called to do fasting to clear the body. And so I'm doing a juice fast. I started today. I was supposed to start like a week ago, but that didn't happen. I convinced myself not to.
Easy to
Sorry.
do.
I'm like, oh, I forgot I was not supposed to eat today. Oops, the pizza's already in my mouth. No, I'm just kidding. No, no. So I'm doing juices, right? I'm trying to just still have something, in my belly, aside from water. So I'm doing the juices, juicing veggies and fruits.
Nice.
So wish me luck.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, I feel a
Yeah.
huge difference when I do it.
Oh,
I know
huge,
you
huge
will.
difference. Huge difference. I did this before. I did it when I first learned Reiki. I did fasting, and I did it before I learned the Reiki, but it was while I was learning actually. Um, and I started to really hear my intuition really, really clear. Like I would see the energy rolling around. Like I haven't, I see them, I've seen them maybe once a day, but before I used to see them often, the little fairies flying around, everything, just whole everything. So it really does make a difference and clears the mind. Um, because the mind, especially my mind, is so busy, always running like 1,000 miles an hour.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, yeah.
Me too.
So it
Nonstop.
really does work, you guys, and it's not for everybody, of course. Some people, actually, I think that everybody can benefit from it, but there are different ways of doing it, different methods of doing this type of fasting. There's intermittent fasting. There's fasting where you fast like for 3 days straight, one day on, one day off, one day on, one day off. It's different depending on your body. Listen to your body.
Yeah.
But let's get into this, okay, Hannah, because I want to get to know more about you, and also let the people who are watching get to know more about you. You are an amazing, amazing, amazing human being who does so much for the collective already here online and on in person as well. So let us know a little bit about how you got to where you are now. How did you have what caused your spiritual awakening?
Yeah. Yeah. So I didn't have necessarily a spontaneous awakening. I grew up in more of a spiritual home, so I was always very comfortable with spirituality. Talks on consciousness and the ego and all that was just kind of normal for me growing up. But I would say a lot of my shadow work. I grew up as a competitive athlete. I played Division 1 tennis in college, and that is where like all my shadows started to come up. I've lost so many competitive matches where just I got in my head, or
Mhm.
my body was just responding in a way where now reflecting back and it's like, oh, there was just a shit ton of unworthiness there. I didn't really believe that I was worthy to compete at with these higher level athletes, and then of course that expanded out into every other area of my life. So I've done a ton of shadow work. I think because I started in this world, I became a holistic health coach in 2016, and from then on I was really focused on nutrition and really focused on helping people get out of kind of the big food industry and cycles. So I focused a lot of nutrition at that point, and then started to transition into more energy healing and incorporate more of the spirituality, which was always probably my first passion. And then it just kind of evolved. I had a couple businesses that I started and failed, and that was a ton of shadow work and dark nights of the soul through all that. Ended relationships, business partnerships, tons of shadow work in those scenarios too. So it's just been kind of an ongoing thing. But I think because I've always been in this realm of personal development, I've always been willing to really look at myself. So at any opportunity where I see something come up in my, sphere, whether it's a challenge, a breakup, some sort of business, venture that isn't going right, I'm the first to look at myself and go, okay, well, I'm the common denominator here. What is happening? If there's a pattern coming up or a repeated, even thought pattern with myself. I'm the first one to look at it. So I've, been very comfortable with shadow work and with going into the darkness, even though as very as uncomfortable as it is. It was never a comfortable thing. It took many years to get to this point, but um, yeah. So at this point, I'm still learning, still evolving, still working through my own stuff, and I think fine tuning what it is that I feel I'm here to do and the ways that I'm here to serve, and ultimately where I'm at right now. And I think with where the world is at right now, connecting with people is really where my passion is right now. I'm bringing like-minded people together and creating these in-person ceremonies and gatherings where we can heal, we can connect, we can bring back more of that playfulness. I feel like we all just need to get out and play with each
Yeah.
other right now. Like it's time, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. So you've been connecting more with people. You do sound baths, is that correct?
I do sound baths. I incorporate some sound healing. I incorporate energy healing, quantum healing into my meditations. And I was doing that after COVID, mostly online. So I
Mhm.
started doing these meditations live on TikTok right at the beginning of
Yeah.
the pandemic. And I went every day, live every day, 9 a.m. for 3 months during the lockdown. Did that for 3 months
Wow.
straight. It was cool because we got like a really cool community going. So every
Yeah.
day we were all showing up, and I'd stay on there for like 2 3 hours, and we just talk after. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So then from there, I kind of stayed in the online space, but more recently, probably the last 2 to 3 months after my last Dark Night of the Soul, which was this year, my biggest takeaway was I got to get out and connect with people. So yeah, to answer your question in a long way.
Yeah. Oh, no, amazing. Please. That's beautiful. That's so, so beautiful. Yeah, I remember seeing your meditations, and your meditations are lovely. Just want to say that
Oh, thank you.
really helped me also get into that routine, to do it every day in the morning. So thank you for that, Hannah.
Yeah, of
Now
course.
you did mention your dark night of the soul that you had recently this year, right? I think
Yeah,
that we all have been going through a lot of changes and shifts collectively and individually as well. So, if you are open to, I would like for you to share your dark night of the soul for anyone who needs some inspiration how to navigate through that.
sure. I think the most important thing to understand is once you start on this path, you don't just have one dark night of the soul. And I think for people who are first awakening and they really go through that first dark night, it's like, okay, I made it, here we are. And it's almost like you have to
Yeah.
buckle up and get ready for the next one. But it does get easier because you start to understand, how to work through it and how to move through it. So, anyways, having said that, so this past year, or this past one, which was in the springtime, I was doing a lot of channeling, a ton of meditating. I'm really starting to do connect to a lot of different in the spirit realm, essentially. So connecting with a lot of spirit guides, and this is what I do. I work with people, I connect with their spirit guides, I channel through messages, and energy healing for them. So I was starting to do a lot of that. And over the course of, and I was also doing a ton of healing on myself, clearing past life trauma, tons of quantum healing on myself. So it was it was an extensive period of healing that I was doing on my own and in solitude. And I spent probably about a month in my own space, healing, meditating, healing, meditating, healing, meditating. And that it became imbalanced.
Mm.
So I started to get a little too stuck into, like you said earlier, the higher chakras. So lots of meditating, lots of channeling. I'm in the third eye and the crown. And what ended up, I think, ultimately happening looking back at it is I became a little too ungrounded, wasn't in my body. My heart and my mind weren't fully connected. And I wasn't in community. I was just alone.
Mm.
So I think ultimately, and what ended up happening where it got really scary is I was starting to, hear conversations in my head. And I'm like, okay, are these guides, which is a normal thing for channelers. You really have to fine tune that channel.
Mhm.
And you have to be grounded in your body and mostly connected to your heart, I believe.
Yeah.
And I think it just started to get a little bit distorted, to put it simply. So it created a little bit of fear in me, and I started to think, okay, am I crazy? Have I lost my mind? Is this a psychosis? What's going on here? So
Mhm.
so I put it all away. I said, okay, I'm not meditating, not channeling. Finally, one day I was like, I snapped. I was like, okay, we're done. So I took a pause on everything for about a month or two, reached out to a bunch of people, got back into my community, started grounding. I was also fasting a ton at that time. So I was like, okay, we're just gonna eat a bunch of grounding foods. We're getting back. I'm on this planet. I'm in this 3D reality.
Yeah.
But it was ultimately a real gift. There was so much learning through the whole process, like infinite amounts of things that I gained from that whole experience. And I would say the biggest takeaways were the need to stay grounded in your body, especially as you're going through a spiritual awakening. The keeping your heart and your mind connected. One thing that I did channel during that time, because there was a lot of good information that was coming through at that time, but keeping your heart and your mind connected. When you
Mhm.
keep the heart chakra and the third eye and the mind connected, then the truth can speak, right? So
Mm.
that throat chakra, the truth can speak. But when the heart and the mind are disconnected, distortion speaks.
Mhm.
And I think that's just so true for so many of us,
Yeah.
especially those of us that are stuck in the mind. If the mind is racing, 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 but you're not really in your body, your heart
Mhm.
isn't, you're not connected to that heart center, this just without a doubt, the mind will turn to illusion.
Mhm.
I think it will. And that's where you can really start to feel, kind of untethered or ungrounded or, just kind of chaotic, especially with what's going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you say, for the people that are listening who may not be familiar with all of the terms, when you say grounding, when somebody needs to be in their body, what does that mean for somebody? What do you do?
Yeah, and this can be very simple, but my favorite practices are to literally connect to the earth every day. So, and even if it's concrete, going outside in your front yard and planting your bare feet on the ground. Bare feet on the ground and just connecting with the earth. And this can all be through visualization because we all have a grounding cord. We all have a connection to the earth, but many of us, especially if we're, up in our minds or we're in fight or flight, we're stressed, we're not fully connected to the earth as we could be. So physically connecting to earth, nature, just getting in nature, putting a hand on a tree can be super simple. But also, if, let's say you can't get outside, I visually bring my awareness down into my body. So I almost, you can picture like a waterfall coming through from the
Mhm.
top of your crown down into your body and just pulling your energy down into your body, down into the soles of your feet. So bringing all your awareness down into your body and then bring your awareness back into your five senses. So it's, you're saying, okay, what am I touching? I'm touching my body here. What am I seeing? I'm seeing this cup in front of me. What am I smelling? Smelling my candle. What am I tasting? So just coming back to the five senses
Mhm.
is one quick way, especially if you're in a really heightened, stressed state. That's a simple hack if you're having a lot of anxiety and feeling out of the body. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's really important. I go and hug trees. I
Yes.
go hug the trees in my neighborhood. My
I
neighbors
love
probably
that.
look at me like this crazy girl.
Oh no, I'm a tree hugger too. Actually,
Yeah, I don't care.
I
I
was
ain't got
doing
no
that
shame
this
in my
weekend.
game.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like y'all should be too. Let's go.
Yeah, come over here and ground with me. Yeah. So a lot of people, I'm sure people have heard of this, but they do mention that sometimes spiritual awakenings can be very similar to psychosis, right?
Mhm.
To psychoses, because you're awakening all these abilities that are outside of your five senses, which means they're unseen, right? We are not familiar with them. Religion and society has said that these things are bad and they're scary, and movies have said that they're scary. So of course, we start to feel that fear. And I like that you mentioned, that you did take time off, um, just to gather yourself, to be with yourself, a time off from your spiritual practice, because it's
Mm-hmm.
also important for us not to get attached to the spiritual practice as well.
Yes.
Attachments can come in a seemingly positive way or in a more negative way where you see them right away, right? But yeah, too much leaning on something outside of yourself, even spirituality, um can be can I don't want to say completely harmful, but it will definitely unbalance you a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. um I know that one of the things that comes with a dark night of the soul is what people call the void, or
Mm-hmm.
the in between, which is when you have said goodbye to basically the old you, right? Like the old you has quote unquote died, or whatever, and you are mourning that old you and that old life. And so now you're not that old self, but you aren't the new self yet. So you're in this space, and there can be some heavy feelings and emotions in that space. And I have had some friends recently going through this saying like, I've had these really negative thoughts come by, like I don't know why I'm feeling this. Like I'm like, you're gonna get through it, just keep staying positive. um Sit with it, see what it is, and if it's not yours, tell it to go away. Say, you don't belong here, that's not my thought, rebuke it, or whatever word you want to say,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll go away, it'll leave you alone. But I want to talk a little bit about the void and what kind of feelings you feel during that time, and what advice you give to somebody who's in that space right now, just because I have people around me who have that recently. So I kind of want to talk about it. So what are your thoughts about the void?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's so common, and you'll experience it multiple times, just like you would a dark night of the soul, or you can call it an ego death. And I've experienced it several times. In fact, I think I might be in it right now. But the void. So when you're in the space between the old self and the new self, what can happen there is first the ego, we'll use that, right, which I view the ego as the conditioned self, so the version of you that you're healing, and you're
Mhm.
starting, and there's a lot of different ways to define the ego. However, that aspect of you, which you can also view as the inner child version of you who is also healing, and this is mostly what we're healing when we're going through a spiritual awakening, is the past versions of ourselves. So the inner
Mhm.
child aspect, maybe past life aspects. But you will come against resistance. You will see resistance with that version of you come up. And I always view these as opportunities for more healing. So, if first and foremost, no matter what you're feeling, know that it's normal. You're safe to feel that way. It's temporary, and you're going to swing back the other direction, because which is hard to remember when you're in that phase. You think, "Oh my god, what the hell? Why am I in this space again? I've already done so much healing. Why, what is going on?" So you
Yeah.
can feel really lost, really confused. And in those spaces, I would say the number one thing is to balance your nervous system. So, nervous system regulation practices, that can be breath work, that can be cold plunges, that can be getting in nature, that can be spending time off of your phone as much as you can, that can be connecting with community or friends who make you feel good. That can be, reading a book. It's a little bit different for everybody, or listening to music, dancing. but the practices that really bring you back into your body, that feel good in your body, and bring you out of your mind. So, nervous system regulation practices, you can Google that and just see what practices speak to you. That is number one. That I don't think enough people, especially, spirituality is starting to trend, especially spiritual awakening, that kind of TikTok realm, which is awesome. It's because, people are really awakening, but I don't think people talk about that piece enough, because your nervous system, your spiritual awakening process is a healing process. Those two go hand in hand. You can't not have a spiritual awakening without healing, because that's what turns into the psychosis. Can turn into a psychosis if you're not focusing on your healing and your mind body connection and keeping the nervous system regulated. So, nervous system regulation, staying in the body, grounding practices. And then, second, I would say nurturing your inner child. So, connecting with that younger aspect of you that you're likely healing. So, it could be the younger aspect of you that maybe has felt unworthy, or hasn't felt lovable, or hasn't felt like she or he's been seen enough or recognized enough, and really nurturing that aspect of you as you see that wound come up and present itself. So those practices are a little bit unique to each person, but really the childlike curiosities. And well, I meant to say, let me back up, I'll get to that. The practices that first, I have an inner child healing meditation on my YouTube, which a lot of people have really resonated with, and that is just a simple practice of visualizing yourself at that age or at a younger age that you feel too, and just connecting heart to heart and just reminding him or her, you are safe, you are loved, I am here for you. And then opening up that dialogue with that aspect of you, which is going to feel a little unusual at first, but the truth is, time is nonlinear. So, we still hold these traumas and these wounds until we heal them. So, these aspects of us are within us, and the more that we can connect with the aspects with those aspects within us, the more that we heal. And so, connecting with that aspect of you, asking what him or her wants. Maybe that day your self-care practice is getting ice cream, or is drawing in a coloring book, or is, jumping rope, something that you used to do as a kid. But the really simple practices that bring you back into that playful state, the things that you did as a kid, as you're going through this whole, death process.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the third piece, just so I can touch on it, in that phase where you're in between the old and new self, you're going to notice that your desires are likely going to change. The people that you surround yourself are likely going to change. You're going to feel called to not probably hang out with the same group of people. You might feel drawn to change your careers. You might feel drawn to change your looks. So in that, if that's where you're at, explore your curiosities, make playfulness a priority, and let yourself explore all the things that you want to do. And that could be trying a new workshop, trying a new class, following different people on TikTok that you feel inspired by, making a Pinterest board of new things. So just letting yourself continue to expand by exploring, because it's really easy to get stuck in the old cycle again, especially in that void space. So you want to keep expanding, keep exploring.
Yeah. I totally agree with everything, because you really can get stuck in that, in the void. You can get stuck in the void if you don't continue to explore and expand and learn yourself. What you're doing is learning yourself, getting to know yourself, your true self, who your soul is. And so that can be daunting. It also happens when people, for example, let go of habits. Like me, when I stopped drinking, I've been sober like 2 years. Well, not completely 100 sober, but like maybe one drink like a month or something. I don't know. That was before, but now I'm completely sober. But when I first stopped drinking, I had another dark night of the soul. It didn't last as long as my first one. But I felt the void. I didn't feel so much the darkness, because sometimes it's like you feel this dark night of the soul, like bam, right? It's like you hit rock bottom or something. And then you get into the void because you're passing through, and then you're going to come out the other side, right? But I didn't have that dark night of the soul. I just went straight into the void because I just completely stopped drinking, and it was something that was easy for me. And I didn't know who the heck I was. Like, I didn't know myself at all. I I didn't even know how to be around others. And so I started to also recluse and stay away and stay in my home and not go out and do meditations and all the healing on my own, try to do it all on my own, right? And then that's when I realized, okay, well, I actually need others. I actually need a community. I do need people. Even though I always want to say I'm a strong, independent woman, but I do need others to heal. We all need each other to heal each other. We heal each other just by having a conversation with somebody. You never know what they're going to say, something that's going to land, Spirit moves through people. If we are angels on earth. I always say everybody is an angel because spirit speaks through everybody. And so yeah, community, doing things like art, that really helped me. Painting, because you're in that flow state. And getting a lot of sunshine, that helped me a lot too. And moving my body. Movement. The bigger the movement, the more energy you're moving. Do cartwheels, do that shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you for saying, because I meant to add that into those other pieces. Movement. How could I forget that? That was one thing that actually happened. That was part of my dark night of the soul. Is I didn't work out for a month, and that is
Mm.
not me, not who I was, not just growing up as an athlete. There's just no way that I would ever allow myself to do that. But in that time, I was kind of just thinking I needed to slow down more.
Mhm.
Anyhow, the movement is huge, huge, because it keeps you in your body and it keeps the energy moving. Yes, 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 yes.
Yes, 100%. It keeps that energy movement and it gets you
Yeah.
like really feeling your body. What worked for me was yoga, because you're balancing and breathing. And so your breath is your anchor, which puts you into your body. So the breath is also a great way to access your body. Um, and now I want to move on to our next topic. Now our next topic is just briefly. I want to talk about spirit guides. You did mention that you do channel. I channel mostly song. Now I'm starting to channel light language. Is
Yeah.
coming through.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. Thank you, Spirit. And Nashita, who is my guide for light language.
Oh, how
Um
cool. That came through a guide for you, that a way that opened that up for you. How cool.
yes, I have a guide. So I'll tell you guys the story real quick.
Yeah.
So I had a darkness clearing with a friend of mine, and so he's like, "Can I look into your past lives?" I'm like, "Yeah, go for it." And what he saw was, first he was confronted with a guide, with my guide. My guide came through first before he could see anything. And he asked her name. She said Nashita, but he couldn't see her because she was inside of like this glass box, right? And so then he asked me, is it okay if we communicate? Can we remove this box, this blockage? I said, yeah. So as soon as I said yes, he said it completely disappeared. It was just me accepting that, yes, she's my guide, and yes, I can speak this, right? And then he saw her and he's like, wow, I've never seen anybody like this. She's like, she's covered in, and he was like trying to find the words. And as he was thinking, in my head, I started to hear light language loud in my mind. and just going on and on. And I was like, what is this? What am I hearing? Is this light language? And as soon as I started hearing that, then he said, are those light codes? It looks like she has light codes all over her body. I was like, what? I didn't say anything. I stayed quiet. I just wanted to see how it went, right? So he's like, wow, she has these light codes. And he's like, wow, it's so beautiful. And then he said that she was like, oh, that I needed some healing. And he looked and he did a scan on my body, and there was a box in my throat of light codes. And he said that it was just stuck in there. It was stuck, right? Because I had been already, I had heard of it and it was coming to me and I was hearing it, but I was like, am I tripping? Like, is this speaking in tongues? Like, what is it? And what really is it, you know? And um, I think this was just her saying, just trust and surrender. Don't ask so many questions, right? Because she showed up as soon as he got into the meditation. So, yeah, he cleared up that voice box, and then he saw a past life where I was an angel who used to sing. I used to sing light codes to people to heal, and
Yes.
yeah. So it's a whole long story, but that's basically the gist of it. And since then I have been practicing and hearing it, and it's gonna come through in my music. I think that's
Yep.
what spirit is calling for. But guides are real and they're here to help you. So Hannah, please tell us, how do you connect with guides? What are spirit guides and how many do you have?
Yeah, yeah. So for me, my guides first came in as like a collective. And when I first started channeling, so my typical practice used to be years ago, I'd sit and meditate for 30 minutes to an hour, and then I would sit down at the computer and I would open my channel and set my intentions. You know, you always want to have an intention. If you're going to open up to connect with spirit, I allow in only the energies on the vibration of pure love, of divine light, who are working with me for my greatest and highest good. You know, no other energies can enter my space because you are, you know, opening yourself up to a lot of different energies. So you just want to set the intention, have your little protection, or however you resonate with that practice, whatever it is for you. So I would set my intentions and then I would just automatic write. So I was automatic writing, and then, you know, it started where it was just a journaling practice for myself, but then I was starting to tune in. This was prior, after I started to understand I was channeling, then I was doing, you know, connecting to the spirit and setting those intentions. But I started to hear a voice that I knew wasn't mine, and the words were just streaming through. So I was just typing it out. It's faster for me to type than write. So I'd just start typing out, and information started to come through of what was going to be upcoming for me, things that I was moving through. So it started to get really clear, and I kind of honed in on that practice through automatic writing. So my guides are a mixture. I connect quite a bit to the archangel realm. I connect to the ascended master realm, and I connect to the galactic realm quite a bit. So those are the three kind of subsections, I would say, of spirit guides that I work with. But there's all different kinds of spirit guides. There's elementals. You know, some people are working with different archetypes, but they're really just, it's a different consciousness. And you know, in this 3D realm, we see point is it 0.003% of
Mhm.
the light spectrum,
Yeah,
which means
something
we're
like that.
basically blind.
Yeah.
Like we
Like,
cannot see anything here. So there's so much space and vastness of energy that we cannot see. And these are just different consciousnesses that you can connect with that are always around you. Your spirit guides are always there.
mhm.
It's just about you setting the intention to reach out and connect with them, and then developing the relationship and starting to trust that what you're receiving is actually, you know, that that whisper from spirit. And that takes some time. You know, sometimes people are super tapped in, they get it really quickly. Some people have to kind of nurture that relationship. You'll see a lot of people first start with synchronicities. They start to see the repeating numbers. I always view that as like a wink from the universe or your
Mhm.
spirit guides. And you can interpret those in all different kinds of way. But I'm always like, oh, I'm I'm getting a little wink from my people. Like, I'm in alignment. That feels good. It's always like a little energy boost.
Uh-huh.
Um, so yeah, I mean, my spirit guides, I work with several, and sometimes, you know, I because I do more of like a quantum healing, and quantum healing is really an umbrella term for a lot of different types of healing. It's spiritual healing, energy healing, the mind body connection, that healing process. But in the quantum healing space, we're really talking about our multidimensionality. So we have also our higher selves, which live in a higher dimensional space. You know, all these beings live in a higher dimensional space than us. So they're not here in this 3D physical realm. They're just in a space where we can't, you know, physically see them with our eyes, but they exist. All these dimensions I perceive are for the most part stacked on top of each other. So they're right here. They're connected with you. Even though you can't see them, you can feel them. Maybe you can even smell them. You know, we have different clairs and abilities. Maybe you can hear them, and maybe you can see them in your mind's eye. Um, so now I lost my train of thought with that. Oh, with the multidimensionality. So when you're connecting in, as I've started to awaken more, you have different aspects of you, and I've started to connect. As I've evolved, I've started to connect to new aspects of me in different dimensional spaces.
Mhm.
So I've connected quite a bit to a Syrian aspect, to which is a galactic aspect. And this is where, you know, you might perceive me as like crazy, and it's like, okay, that's fine, because it does sound crazy. But people would be surprised. A lot of their spirit guides might be galactic, you know, they
Mhm.
might be from a different star system, which
Yep.
you just have to kind of accept that we know a lot less than we think we do. And once you start to kind of open up to that, you know, the other dimensional spaces, and you welcome it, and you're not in too much fear around it, you know,
Mhm.
these energies can't connect with you if you're in that space of fear. This is a loving energy that comes in. They connect to you through the heart, and they will
Mhm.
never come in a way to scare you or to induce fear. Not the guides that I work with, you know. But, you know, all of our guides, they're here to protect us. They're here to help us raise our vibration and come back to that place of love, and help us move through the human experience, which is heavy and dense, but it's always a loving presence, and it's never to invoke fear. So I would say that as well. If you are trying to decipher, am I talking to my spirit guide, or even if you're trying to decipher if it's your intuition or not, ask your
Mhm.
body, am I in fear right now? Or am I in an open heart, loving energy right now? And if it's in that loving energy, it feels open, it feels expansive and welcoming, then that is a spirit connection. But if it's fear, you know, it could be your body reacting, or it could be a different energy out there. And that's okay. There's a lot of different energies out there. But you always have sovereignty over your energy field. And like you said earlier, you get to decide what energy circulates around you.
Mhm. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
100%. Thank you for mentioning that about, that it doesn't feel like fear, that they come through the heart.
Yeah.
You know, the connection is like the heart mind coherence,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then they come down. So definitely the heart, I think, is I believe that is the portal to everything.
Yes.
It's the portal.
Agreed.
So that's definitely where you're communicating to these guides from. Even if you're doing tarot, you also want to be specific who you're connecting to, what energies you're allowing in, what energies you're not allowing in. So you have to set your own boundaries, set up your space energetically, not just physically. Yeah, we cleanse the space with smoke, we clean up a little bit, we organize, but we also have to cleanse the space and clear it, and tell them who's allowed and who's not, make your
Yep.
protection bubble. Um, that's very important. It's important to know that you have bodily autonomy. You're the sovereign
Mm-hmm.
soul
Yep.
who has control of what they allow into their energetic field. So if there is an energy that is bothering you, or if it's something that you got a public place where you were at a party, a concert or something. Sometimes it's our own mind. Sometimes
Yeah.
we have our own demons, you know.
Oh yeah.
So if I'm the bad energy, then she, you know, then you have work to do, right?
Yeah.
So
Some healing to
yeah,
do.
some healing. It's just a little bit of healing, some observance. It's just observing, really. That's what healing is, just seeing what's there and loving it, you know, as part of you.
Yep.
That's all it is, you know. And I have some people who, once they start getting into their psychic senses, they'll message me and they'll be like, hey, you know, I was going to bed and there was like these dark shadows like at my door or something. I don't know what to do. And I just reassure them, you know, you're safe. You are in the body. They don't have a physical body, you know. So you tell them, hey, you're not allowed. Like, this is my home. I only work with those beings of love and light, and only those beings are allowed into my field. And it worked for her. So it works for everybody. It honestly works for everybody. It just, that's how it is, you know.
Yeah.
um so don't be afraid. Definitely don't be afraid, because the fear is going to push you further away from that. I think that we as a society have a lot of uh dismantling or unlearning that we still have to do collectively, as far as when it comes to the spiritual realm, considering that we are blind, that we don't see the spiritual realm.
Mhm.
So yeah, so those are all new things coming, and thank you for mentioning that. That's very, very important.
Yeah.
Um, so I think we have talked quite a bit today, and it's
Yeah.
been fun. Is there anything else that you want to talk about, Hannah? I always open up the floor for anybody. I mean, whoever's on, whatever they want to talk about, anything special.
I loved hearing your story about the light language. That was so cool because that's opened up for me too. And it's definitely a little bit like, oh, okay, we're going there.
Yes.
um, but what I was going to say, and I feel you're so connected to Egypt and to the Isis energy and the Hathor energy. And they would sing to open up portals. So it makes sense that that light language is coming through for you because I definitely think you're going to be singing. I mean, your singing is already light codes, but now it's like another flavor of sound frequency and sound healing. And that's what light language is. It's quantum healing. It's sound currents for healing. And sound, I think, is one of the most powerful healing techniques. So it's so amazing that we're all starting to remember this ancient ability. This is an old practice that goes way back, of using the voice and using sound vibrations. So I just think it's so cool. I loved hearing that.
Yes. Well, I'm happy that it's coming through for you too. That, you know, it is a little, I was a little apprehensive at the beginning, because you do think like, well, are we doing this or what's going on? Because you're like, I don't want to be just sounding crazy out there, you know?
I know. I
But
know.
who cares? Call me crazy. I'm crazy.
Exactly. 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 If you're crazy, I'm crazy.
I take it as a compliment. I always tell my mom that I'm crazy, and she says, no, you're not crazy. I'm like, yes, I am.
And you know
Oh,
what?
no.
These days it is.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, light language, it's sound healing is definitely the most powerful way, for me at least, of healing. And I think that for us, it is that way. It's just because it's a vibration, you know, and we are a vibration. We are vibrating, even though it looks like we're sitting still. Um, so yeah, everything is vibration, and these frequencies penetrate your body and your cells and go into every part of you. I mean, we are made up of water. If you see water and you put sound to it, it's gonna vibrate, right? So you're
Yeah.
getting all of this into your body. And that's why I got into sound healing as well, because when I first started awakening and doing my healing, I started with frequencies. That's what I started.
Cool.
Those are the kind of meditations that I started doing. I just went
Yeah.
straight to frequencies.
Yep.
and and I cleared so many things. Trauma, sexual abuse to abandonment issues, everything. I was able to transform my life to what I wanted it to be. I still, obviously, I'm always growing and always wanting to change. My life is always changing, for at least for me as a Scorpio. But I think that us in general as human beings, change is actually the only constant here on earth.
Yes.
Because everything dies and reborn and everything. So it's a beautiful process. But I did want to mention one thing. I'm happy that you brought up Isis,
Yes.
because she came up in my reading this morning.
Of
That's
course.
funny.
Of course. Of course. I
Of
love
course.
it.
Of
Love it.
course. So we're
Yeah.
saying shout out to Isis.
Shout out to Isis. And in fact, I think she came through in our live. Either we mentioned it. I am very connected to Isis. That's another uh, guide that I
That's
work
another
with.
guide.
Yeah.
So Isis would that be just, it's a spirit guide? What do you consider that? Earthly, elemental, like it's just
That's a good
like a goddess?
question. I mean, yeah, the goddess. So there's
Yeah.
the whole divine goddess archetype, and there's
Mhm.
many of them. Kuan Yin, Mary
Yeah.
Magdalene, Mother Mary,
Yeah.
Green Tara, Isis, of course. A great book is the Sophia Code. Have you read the Sophia Code?
Ooh, no, I have
It's a good one.
not. Yeah.
Bunch of goddess activations in there. But yeah, she's a goddess known as the Great Mother. Huge, obvious ancient Egypt connection there. And I think you've
Yeah.
got some past lives going on there. Priestess
Yeah.
energy.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it all. I take it. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, Hannah, I am so blessed and grateful to have had you on today. And I wish you nothing but the best on your healing journey and on your career and your success on TikTok and everywhere. And I can't wait to meet you in person, to get to hug you. And hopefully we can do a sound bath together one day.
Yes, let's do it. I'm so down. Thank you so much, Luna. I so appreciate you. I love you. I love your work. I'm honored to connect with you, and I would love to do a sound bath with you. Let's get that going.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's
All
do
right,
it.
people, you heard it here first. We're doing a sound bath.
Heck yeah. LA
Oh my
area,
God.
perhaps?
LA area. Yes.
Okay.
Come over here to LA. Yes, Hannah. Let everybody know where they can find you. Where you have Instagram, TikTok, everything, right?
I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. My meditations are on YouTube, and I have a podcast, and it's all my name for Instagram and TikTok. TikTok, it's Hannah Holladay, Hannah, and then my middle initial L, and then Holladay, Holladay.
Yes, Hannah Holiday, everybody. Thank you so much. Until next time, mucho, mucho love and light.
Thank you.
Bye.